Cool. I meant to pick portrait. Fuck. Whatever.
Echo off.
Echo off. Sorry. Sorry. I clearly was not ready for this. Clearly. I'm going to put these down here like that. Oh, I want to change my landscape. Can I change it? No, I cannot. Oh well, whatever. Tis what it is. Ooh, I'm sorry, Kevin. All right. So we're gonna read How to Own Your Shit by Tanya Beauty Coach. Tanya Beauty Coach. I never know how to pronounce Tanya or Tanya. I always get it wrong. It's a really good book about mastering self-projection. I'm probably not going to wait for anybody to get in here because I'm not expecting anybody to show up in the live. If anybody does, that's a bonus. But we're just going to get into it. Intro, perception or reality? What if I told you that your emotions could be distorting your perception of reality? In the grand tapestry of existence, where the threads of self-reflection and self-projection intertwine, a remarkable narrative unfolds. Welcome to a world where the depths of our souls are illuminated and the power to shape our reality resides within. Brace yourself.
Meeting the parts within.
Oh, cancel. Okay. Sorry. Brace yourself for a captivating journey through the corridors of introspection, where the mirrors of our own perceptions reveal the intricate dance of our true selves. This is not just a book, but an invitation to delve into the depths of your being. So, to unravel, this is not just a book, but an invitation to delve into the depths of your being, to unravel the mysteries that lie beneath the surface. Embark on a transformative odyssey where self reflection becomes a portal to profound self discovery and self projection becomes the brush that paints our lives with purpose and authenticity. Prepare to embark on a soul stirring expedition where the boundless potential of self realization awaits at every turn. I urge you to approach this book not as a passive reader, but as an active participant in your own transformation. Take the ideas and concepts presented here and bring them to life in your own unique way. While my personal anecdotes and experiences may occasionally find their way into the text, they are merely illustrations, signposts pointing the way forward. This book is ultimately about you, the hero of your own story, and the immense potential that awaits when you harness the power within. Upon my initial exposure to the self projection theory through the teachings of Carl Jung and Deepak Chopra, I became fixated on the concept as it sparked a strong interest within me. I had so many questions. Are all my assumptions about others wrong? What if what I see in others is a projection of me? Where do they come from? And why can't I recognize them? For years, I made it my mission to read, meditate, and experience this idea to better understand and apply it. Once I did, it completely changed the way I saw myself and the world. It was emotionally draining at first because it required a lot of self reflection, redirecting thoughts, and reprogramming my mind, but it was all worth it. I was searching for inner peace, and this was the final piece to the puzzle. If I was able to turn my life around emotionally, physically, and spiritually, and truly find healing and inner peace, I believe it is a possibility for anyone. In this book, I will challenge your perceptions, beliefs, and truths. Reading this may stir up uneasy feelings and may disrupt your comfort zone. However, self awareness and the willingness to get uncomfortable can promote personal growth, resulting in a deep sense of inner peace. Get ready to challenge your assumptions and broaden your horizons. This is Owning Your Shit 101. From survival to potential. I fully grasped the concept of self projection in the tranquil embrace of a peaceful morning meditation. With a steaming cup of tea in hand, and as the sun's gentle warmth caressed my face, I had a profound revelation. The key to my lifelong quest for peace lay hidden in the clutches of others' opinions. Since childhood, the weight of being labeled as different had cast me as an outsider, consumed by the ceaseless worries of how others perceived me. But in that transformative moment, sorry, just as that was weird. But in that transformative moment, I discovered the truth, how the echoes of their judgment had silently corroded my own happiness. With the first rays of dawn, ch- casting their with the first rays of dawn casting their gentle glow on my face, a resounding whisper echoed within the depths of my consciousness. I am infinite potential. In that precise instant, I transcended the limitations of others' perceptions, realizing that I was not merely defined by their opinions. Moreover, I shed the illusion of my own self perception, for I was a kaleidoscope of infinite possibilities, constantly evolving and embracing the ever unfolding tapestry of my being. The truth shimmered before me, radiant and awe inspiring. I was an extraordinary embodiment of limitless potential, surpassing any preconceived notion or self imposed constraints. I am infinite, an aha moment that I can't fully explain, but so profound that I broke down in tears. A sense of liberation enveloped me as if burdensome weight. A sense of liberation enveloped me as if a burdensome weight had finally been released. I had been carrying the burden of others' opinions about me for far too long, and while I was already acquainted with the concept of projecting one's self image, it was at that precise moment that I understood its impact. Taking responsibility, in other words, owning your shit, involves recognizing how your thoughts and feelings can affect how you view the world. By acknowledging your self projections and engaging in introspection, you can gain a deeper understanding of yourself. I believe it is never about being perfect, it is just about being aware. You are not in the world is in you. Deepak Chopra. For most of my childhood, I struggled a lot emotionally with depression and anxiety, physically with kidney disease, high blood pressure, migraines, and anemia, to name a few. Looking back, my childhood seemed like a blur of painful memories mixed with bits and pieces of a few loving ones. I remember feeling tired and sick a lot. I was labeled as lazy. I was labeled as a lazy child, unknowing that I had FSGS, a chronic disease that attacks the kidneys. I would take 4-hour naps as a toddler when most kids grew out of nap time. I would fall asleep anywhere and everywhere every chance I got. I would fall asleep everywhere and anywhere any chance I got. Throughout my years, good lord, I can't read right now. Throughout my early years, I experienced a significant amount of emotional, physical, and sexual trauma from various individuals. Although I am not yet prepared to discuss this openly, it is relevant to note that when I reflect on my childhood memories, many of them are associated with pain and suffering. My initial year in high school was no exception. I befriended a girl early in the year who eventually became the leader of a group of about 10 bullies. One evening, I got a call from this friend who accused me of talking bad about her. I recall feeling stunned as I defended myself by telling her about the lesson my mother had taught me when I was young, to refrain from gossiping and to always speak about others as if they were present in the room. This friend didn't believe me, and that's when the bullying started. Throughout the year, this large group of kids would often push me down the hallway stairs, beat me up, and verbally abuse me whenever they had the opportunity. I was constantly hiding and frequently sought refuge in the bathroom or the library. My grades were declining, and I would cry in class, but at the same time, my grades were declining and I would cry in class, but at the time, teachers did not take much action against bullying, and the blame was often placed on the victim, which I still find difficult to comprehend. This is, however, a specific memory that stands out to me where the group of kids attempted to burn my hair. After that traumatic incident, I went home in tears and recounted the story to my mom. She was furious and had enough of the bullying. The following day, she met with the principal to discuss the issue. However, his response was dismissive, stating that kids will be kids, and expressing his satisfaction that he wouldn't have to deal with this anymore since he was retiring that year. The following day, his solution was to confiscate the lighter from one of the bullies. During that time, my parents were separated, and my father had temporarily moved to Jamaica. He returned to visit us about a month after the hair burning incident and was shocked by the ongoing bullying I had been experiencing throughout the year. He asked me why I didn't stand up for myself, and as someone who was influenced by my Catholic upbringing, I responded that I had to be like Jesus and turn the other cheek. Whenever I was physically attacked, I would repeat the phrase, "Forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do," to myself as a way to cope with the situation. My father shared his exasperation with harmful religious perspectives and emphasized the need for us to take action. He immediately inquired about the identities of the primary bullies and managed to locate them, paying a visit to their parents that same evening. Although he did not disclose the entire encounter, law enforcement officials showed up at our residence that night, and he was required to speak with them privately in the hallway of our apartment building to clarify the matter. Fortunately, they did not arrest him, but the following day at school, I felt as though I had entered a new dimension. Everything was different. For most of the school year, I was running from bullies. For most of the school year, I was running from bullies, but that day, I was relieved that everyone seemed scared to come close to me, going out of their way to avoid me. One girl even approached me to apologize. Although the situation was eventually resolved, I remained fearful and continued to experience anxiety whenever someone called my name for a few more years. It was not long after that I discovered, though, through blood tests and biopsies, that my blood had been slowly poisoning my kidneys since birth. It was then that I fell into a deep depression. Following two suicide attempts in my early teens, my parents and doctors insisted I seek professional help. Although I consulted with various psychiatrists and received numerous medications, I frequently relapsed into a depressive state. Eventually, I got really good at hiding my sad emotions from others, but the pain stayed with me every day. In 2005, I found out that I was pregnant, but the doctors gave my baby and I very little chance of surviving. Despite their warnings, I decided to go ahead with the pregnancy. Within a month, I was admitted to the hospital for the rest of my pregnancy and could only make occasional visits back home on weekends. I was severely underweight and couldn't hold any food down. Although I was really sick, for the first time in years, I wanted to live. At least, at less than 10% kidney function, I was induced at 7 months into the pregnancy, and my daughter came out screaming, which was a good sign. She was only 3 pounds and had to be incubated for a month, but she made it through and has been resilient ever since. A year after her birth, I was extremely grateful to receive a kidney from my loving mom. However, after the transplant, I went through 5 more surgeries and had to deal with several health issues that continued to affect my mental health. Nevertheless, at this point in my life, I felt like I finally had a reason to live. My daughter. Oh, where's my water? I am not what you think I am. You are what you think I am. J. Krishnamachari. Oh, I butchered that last name. I am so sorry. In 2007, a glimpse of the beginning of my healing journey started when I embarked on the process of freeing myself from the constraints of my old reality. My emotions prior to that were running the show. I had no control over my thoughts and feelings. What I didn't realize then is I was missing a very big key point: self awareness. My encounter with The Secret, both in book and movie form, authored by Rhonda Byrne, ignited a shift within me. The message that we possess the power to transform our lives through positive thinking and elevating our vibrational energy prompted me to embrace its teachings. For a few years, I tried hard to maintain a cheerful outlook, and although I noticed small changes in and around me, I was still struggling on the hard days because my health wasn't improving. It was hard to keep smiling while my body was in pain. So I found myself either being very reactive or dismissive to the people I cared most about. Even with the transplant, the blood disease made it extremely hard to do daily tasks. The doctors warned me that this disease could poison the transplanted kidney. So I had fear surrounding my health. Even though I would try to be positive, my body was still sick. These few books I was reading then said we create our diseases. So I would start shaming myself when I couldn't heal my body. Fake it till you make it didn't work for me, and I didn't realize then that not only was I suppressing emotions, but I was also surrounded by people who matched the energy of the hidden self rejection, inauthenticity, anger, and frustration that I had for myself. In 2009, I was admitted to the hospital for another emergency surgery. The operation went terribly wrong, and I once again fell into a depression. I felt hopeless. No matter what I did to try to be happy, life was kicking my ass. I was a single mother with PTSD, trauma, and a chronic disease. How could I be positive when my body was in so much pain? How could I not feel guilty when I would have to cancel an outing to the park with my daughter because of how sick I was? I felt like I was missing out on life. I spoke to a neighbor one day about how the positive high vibration stuff wasn't working for me, and they recommended a new book called The Shadow Effect by Deepak Chopra, Mariam Williamson, and Debbie Ford. A week later, Amazon recommended The Secret of the Shadow by Debbie Ford. Well, let me tell you, these books absolutely changed my life. While reading them, I was also given the movie called What the Bleep Do We Know? And when I watched it, I had to pause it multiple times to process all the new complex information. Healing by combining spirituality with science. It wasn't at all about the positive. It wasn't at all about being positive all the time. It was about balance, energy, and awareness. This was the actual beginning of my healing journey. I started meditating a few times a week, connecting with a wonderful and unforgettable holistic psychologist, took Reiki and other classes, read many books about energy, attended sound bowl concerts, and started tapping into the artist in me. Best of all, I stopped floating around the surface of my conscious mind and started to dive deep into my subconscious. In other words, I stopped being fake with myself and faced my deepest fears. The journey was long and hard at first, but I made a deal with myself to work on self-care every day. Louise Hay's books and DVD You Can Heal Your Life was what helped me or You Can Heal Your Life was what helped me balance. Let's try this again. Louise Hay's book and DVD You Can Heal Your Life was what helped me find balance, gratitude, and self-love. Growing up, I used to watch television excessively, specifically comedy, to drown my thoughts. I hated commercials because that break would cause me to spiral into a whirlwind of painful feelings. I had no boundaries with people because I believed my feelings didn't matter. I often thought that not only was my existence pointless, but people would be better off without me around. I had a lot of religious people around me growing up that often told me I would go to hell if I didn't make the right choices. But thankfully, my parents would attempt to reassure me with their more open minded views. Ever since I can remember, I had so much fear surrounding my existence here on earth. When my daughter was born, I found a new sense of purpose. but I was concerned about perpetuating the intergenerational trauma patterns that had been passed down. I started the inner journey for her, but ended up finding me. Learning to recognize my self projections helped me find self compassion, which then led me to heal my physical body. I began incorporating self nourishing foods into my diet, maintaining a more consistent workout and meditation routine, fostering kind relationships, and treating myself with greater compassion. As a new mother, I knew I couldn't give up, and I had to do this for myself and my daughter. My main goal for us was to live with love and inner peace, meaning, regardless of what's happening in the outside world, we can accept all emotions as we experience them and live in the present moment. I understood that by embodying this way of life, by learning to love myself unconditionally through life's ups and downs, I could set a powerful example for her to follow. Well, that only took 20 minutes. That's not too bad. Let's do this real quick. All right, so Chapter 1, Becoming Self-Aware. Self-reflection is the process of looking inward and examining our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. It's an important skill to develop because it can help us gain self awareness, discover our strengths and weaknesses, and make loving changes in our lives. It gives us the ability to recognize and understand ourselves on a deeper level. If you are new to self reflection, you may try this. Find a calm and comfortable place where you won't be interrupted. Think about a recent situation or event that has been on your mind. It could be something that made you irritated, anxious, hurt, frustrated, or sad. Ask yourself questions about the situation. For example, what happened? How did I feel? What did I do? What could I have done differently? Be honest with yourself and try to avoid self criticism. Write down your thoughts and insights on paper. This can help you organize and track your progress over time. Reflect on your overall patterns and tendencies. Are there any recurring themes in your thoughts or behaviors? Are there areas of your life where you need to make changes or improvements? Let's say you were really upset about something that started Let's say you were really upset about something and started yelling at someone. With self reflection, you would be able to recognize that you were feeling angry and that your behavior might not be helpful. You could reflect on why you were feeling that way and consider a different way to express your emotions that might not be hurtful towards yourself or the other person. To grow self awareness, you must turn your emotions inwards. For example, instead of saying, they are so offensive, you may say, I feel offended. The first one is pointing the finger, and the other is taking responsibility for your thoughts. Sometimes it's easier to blame others for our own feelings because taking accountability for the judgmental things that we feel about others can make us feel like a bad person. Within the pages of this book, I aim to demonstrate how embracing your self-projections can be an act of self-love. Although it may be tough initially, looking deep into your innermost thoughts and feelings can sometimes stir up strong emotions. We'll explore your hidden subconscious emotions, and while it might make some of you feel uncomfortable, I've come to realize that being triggered can have a positive impact depending on your perspective. When we experience a sudden wave of negative emotions, instead of feeling powerless, we can reframe the experience and feel excited because we may have uncovered a hidden aspect of ourselves that requires attention. Have you ever offered advice to someone and realized that advice was actually meant for you? All the time. If you ever felt like you've lost a part of yourself, this can serve as the catalyst for rediscovering your true self. I hope to guide you through your projections with lots of love. I would challenge you to try to get excited when a new uncomfortable feeling surfaces. Think of it as a plot twist in a romantic movie. Right after everything seems to be going wrong, that is often the point where the main character has an epiphany and transforms their life, ultimately finding love, healing, and happiness. Awareness can be shocking and even a little scary, but it is the first step to healing. I use a technique for self awareness with my clients, which I like to call 3 in, 3 out, 3 all. It is a body scan where it is a body scan where you become focused and completely aware of what you're feeling physically. You don't try to change what you're feeling, you just feel it. Become conscious of your unconscious. The reason for this practice is just to be with yourself. We get so busy from the moment we wake up, we forget to simply listen to our body and validate our emotions. We often get tempted to fix, control, and change things that we cannot control. This practice is to reconnect with yourself all while releasing control, being with you without judgment. Let's try this together. For about 3 minutes, sit or standing, become aware of what you're physically feeling in your body. Don't try to change it, just become aware. Do you feel hot, cold, any pressure or pain? Perhaps you feel tingling or vibrations in your hands and feet. Is your stomach growling? Listen to your body and scan it from head to toe. Now, for another 3 minutes, become aware. Now, for another 3 minutes, become aware of the feelings around your body. Do you feel the clothes on your body? Do you feel the hair on your head? A breeze? Heat? Scan from head to toe. For the last 3 minutes or so, focus your attention both in and all around you. Can you feel the cool air entering your nose as you inhale and the warm air coming out? Practice this often and you'll notice a deeper connection within your body. You can also try this when you're in different situations: stressed, working out, at your job, with children, alone, while eating. You'll start to notice your body is communicating with you and you'll become aware enough to listen. Self awareness is the ability to take an honest look at your life without any attachment to it being right or wrong, good or bad. Debbie Ford. Conscious words. Before we start, I want to clarify some words that I will be using. The difference between the conscious mind, unconscious mind, the subconscious, and consciousness. Conscious mind. The conscious mind refers to our state of awareness, attention, and focus. It encompasses our capacity for logical and critical thinking. Interestingly, the conscious mind constitutes less than 5% of our overall brain function. Yet, it has the remarkable ability to process approximately 40 to 50 bits of information per second. It is through our conscious mind that we intentionally engage in logical reasoning and analysis. One notable feature of the conscious mind is its ability to distinguish between the past, present, and future. It enables us to perceive and comprehend the passage of time. As you are presented as you are presently reading this, it is your conscious mind that is actively involved in the process. The act of reading and comprehending these words is a deliberate choice made by your conscious mind. By emphasizing this mind, we can exercise control over our cognitive processes, directing our attention and focus where we choose. It is through the conscious mind that we engage in intentional thought and decision making. allowing us to actively shape our experiences and interaction with the world. The unconscious mind, absence of awareness. The unconscious mind refers to the realm of our thoughts and perceptions and experiences that lie beyond our immediate awareness. It encompasses the aspects of ourselves that we are not consciously aware of, but which can be brought to conscious attention through intentional focus. The unconscious includes various elements such as automatic bodily functions like breathing, sensory perceptions such as colors and sounds, stored memories, and even actions like walking. Although we may not constantly think about or pay attention to these unconscious processes, we have consciously directed our attention towards them. Or, sorry, when we consciously direct our attention towards them, we can bring them into our conscious awareness. By consciously focusing on something unconscious, like the color of a wall or the sensation of our breathing, we can become more aware of the processing happening within our unconscious mind. Bringing the unconscious into awareness is a practice that allows us to live more fully in the present moment. By regularly engaging in this process, we can cultivate a greater sense of awareness and mindfulness. Over time, this practice can have positive effects on mental well being, potentially helping to alleviate symptoms of depression and anxiety. The subconscious mind, absence of awareness. The subconscious mind refers to the vast realm of our mental processes that operate below our conscious awareness. It is, con- it is constantly active even when we are asleep. Remarkably, the subconscious mind accounts for over 95% of our brain function and it processes a staggering 11 million bits of information per second. One crucial aspect of the subconscious mind is its role in housing our hidden emotions. It serves as a sort of storage facility or database for the emotions associated with our current and past experiences, as well as our memories. Operating in a present based manner, the subconscious does not differentiate between the past, present, or future. It simply stores and processes emotions without intention or conscious control. Moreover, the subconscious mind is responsible for generating unintentional feelings, behaviors, habits, dreams, thoughts, and actions. As you are reading this, your brain is actively processing every scent, color, and texture of the environment around you, even if your conscious mind remains unaware of it. Reflecting on this phenomenon can indeed be quite overwhelming. To move from the subconscious to the conscious, information must traverse the realm of the unconscious mind. The unconscious mind acts as a bridge, allowing the subconscious to surface into conscious awareness. It is important to note that the subconscious mind plays a significant role in processing and storing the emotions associated with our experiences. This process contributes to our emotional self projections. Unlike the conscious mind, the subconscious operates beyond our control, without the ability to choose. Consciousness, the term consciousness can be used in different contexts, leading to varying interpretations. In the context of subjective experience and awareness, consciousness refers to our cognitive and perceptual faculties. On the other hand, when consciousness is referred to as the soul or spirit, it takes on a more spiritual connotation. Con- I know this word, but it's not coming to me. In this sense, consciousness represents the deeper essence of our being, the core aspect that transcends physical existence. It is associated with the idea of eternal, immaterial aspect of ourselves that persists beyond the limitations of physical body. In this book, I will be using the concept of consciousness as the soul or spirit, basically the energy within you that makes your body alive. We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. Anais Nin. We'll do one more chapter and then we'll be done for today. Chapter 2. What is self-projection? That was at 34:57. Self projections are both positive and negative emotions, beliefs, qualities, faults, opinions, judgments, and even sometimes behaviors that we see in another that we possess. The concept of projection in psychology has been discussed by several prominent psychologists, including Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. Freud, the founder of psychoanalysis, proposed the idea of projection in his work on defense mechanisms. According to Freud, projection involves attributing one's own unacceptable or unwanted thoughts, feelings, or impulses to another person. This defense mechanism allows individuals to distance themselves from their own undesirable traits and project them onto others. Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist and psychoanalyst, wrote extensively about projection throughout his career, beginning in the early 1900s and continuing until his death in 1961. His ideas on projections are included in several of his major works, including Psychological Types, The Archetypes and the Collective Unconscious, and two essays on analytical psychology. He suggested that projection involves attributing one's own desires or motivations onto others, and that it can be a way of confronting and integrating aspects of the self that have been repressed. So, while neither Freud nor Jung can be credited with inventing the concepts of projection, they both made significant contributions to our understanding of the psychological phenomenon. Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves. Everyone is our mirror. Our reflections in others show us not only who we are, but also how to be better. Carl Jung. When we project onto others our feelings, opinions, and assumptions about them without self reflection, without realizing it is coming from our mind, emotions, not recognizing it in ourselves, may be a protection mechanism, protecting ourselves from uncomfortable feelings. It can be too hard to face those aspects within us, so instead, we project them onto others. In many cases, a sort of denial of the self. Here are some examples of negative projections. A dishonest person may frequently accuse others of being deceitful, even when there is no evidence to support this claim. This could be a way for the person to distance themselves from their own dishonesty by projecting it onto others. Someone who is struggling with their feelings of anger may project these emotions onto others by assuming that people around them seem often angry, even if there is no objective evidence to support this belief. A person who is insecure about their attractiveness may project their insecurities onto others by assuming that people are judging them negatively based on their appearance, even if there is no evidence to support this. In each of these examples, the person is projecting their own thoughts, feelings, or motivations onto others, which can create misunderstandings or conflicts in their relationships with others. Examples of positive projections. A person who has a positive self concept may project their own positive qualities onto others, assuming that others are kind, trustworthy, and honest, which can lead to either positive interactions and relationships with others or feeling deceived when the other person is not what they assume them to be. Someone who has a growth mindset and believes that they can improve their skills and abilities may project this belief onto others, assuming that others are also capable of learning and growing. Types of self-projections. All right. Types of self-projections. I've named and placed them in four categories. 1. Emotional self-projections. refers to the process by which we subconsciously attribute positive and negative emotions and assumptions towards others that actually reflect our own feelings towards ourselves. To describe this type, people often use adjectives. Throughout our lives, emotional self projections persist. While they can change and transform as we develop self awareness and experience personal growth, the underlying tendency to externalize our internal emotions remains consistent. Oh, my battery's gonna die. Sorry, Missy Moo Moo. Here we go. Real quick here. There. Throughout our lives, emotional self projections persist. While they can change and transform as we develop self awareness and experience personal growth, the underlying tendency to externalize our internal emotion remains consistent. In practical terms, emotional self projections manifest as assumptions that are not necessarily based on factual information. It can also be seen through criticism or compliments that we direct towards others, which ultimately reveal our own inner judgments or affirmations about ourselves. How I feel about you is actually how I feel about me. Presumption self projection. This type occurs when we mistakenly presume that others possess the same feelings, outlooks, and perspectives as we do, leading to a false sense of awareness. It becomes evident when we experience a triggered response when someone disagrees with our beliefs or values, as we expect them to share our emotional state. Presuming others have the same preferences for tastes and hobbies or share the same opinions, such as sports teams, religious and political views, are examples of presumption self projection. It is important to note that since this type resides in the unconscious, once we become aware of this tendency, we gain the ability to stop it. I assume you're feeling what I am feeling. Mm-hmm. Knowledge self projection. This type arises from the unconscious assumption that others possess the same abilities and or knowledge as ourselves, leading to a false sense of awareness. Knowledge self projections appear when we get triggered if someone fails to excel at the same abilities or share the knowledge that we possess. It is important to note that this type of self projection is not constant, and once we become aware of it, we have the capacity to stop it. Examples of knowledge self projection include instances where a plumber assumes that everyone should know how to repair pipes, a basketball player assumes that everyone can dribble a ball, or a highly intellectual person assumes that everyone shares their level of knowledge. I assume you know what I know. Absolved self projection. This type is characterized by the denial of one's own behaviors, attitudes, and actions, which are instead projected onto others in a reversed manner. Unlike the other types of projections that stem from our emotions, this type revolves around our own actions and conduct. It involves absolving ourselves of the responsibility. This type of self projection can occur both consistently and intermittently, so when we become aware that our own actions are being projected, we have the ability to cease them. However, in cases where denial is deeply ingrained in our subconscious, we may be unable to recognize the projection. It is important to note that absolved self projection does not apply when factual evidence proves otherwise. Examples include instances where a person who lies or cheats assumes others are lying or cheating on them or others, or when someone hides or denies their own attraction towards someone and assumes that the other person is attracted to them. Additionally, abusers who accuse others of being abusive exhibit this type of projection. I deny my actions and behaviors and assume that you act and behave that way. We are the projector. Perceptions play a big part in owning our shit. Understanding how we perceive the world and others is the first step to finding out where self projections come from. What I feel about you is actually what I feel about myself. How is this true? Well, we must first acknowledge that our mind is creating this perception about someone else. If it comes from our minds, why does it have to be true for them? Our reality is based on our perceptions. Our mind creates perceptions about ourselves, others, and the world. Therefore, the perception belongs to us because, again, it came from our mind. We are experiencing life as we are. Some perceptions may have originated from our parents or societal standards, but we have internalized them and now view the world through that lens. Picture a projector in a movie theater. The projector in the back of the theater is projecting an image onto a screen facing it. The image on the screen is what we see, but the information from that image comes from the actual projector. Your external reality is being processed by your internal reality. The whole world is simply my story, projected back to me on the screen of my own perception. All of it. Byron Katie. Our senses are the gateway to our perceptions, and they allow us to experience life in its entirety. Whether it's tasting food, listening to music, touching objects, smelling fragrances, or seeing the colors of the world, our senses are what enable us to fully engage with the reality around us. Each of us experience life uniquely through our senses. For instance, what tastes delicious to one person may be repulsive to another, and what one hears may sound slightly different to another. Thus, we are all perceiving reality differently based on our individual experiences, and this shapes our unique perception of reality. Suppose you and I are standing near a car and the car alarm goes off. You will perceive the sound differently depending on your receptive positions, attention, and hearing ability. This example highlights that our perception is influenced by various factors. Similarly, when we meet someone, the way we experience them is influenced by our position, attention, and hearing. Regardless of where we stand, we are missing out on certain perspectives and information. The true reality can't be gathered by our one perspective. We also perceive reality from our emotions. For example, my experiences with my aunt may be quite different from the experiences my cousin had with their mother. My perceptions may cause me to have a different opinion of her compared to others. My emotions towards my aunt and their emotions towards their mother, the same person, will be vastly different. I had a very loving, fun relationship with my Aunt Gabby. She passed away in 2022, and at her funeral, I was asked to speak. I told everyone how authentic she was and how she always made me feel like I didn't have to change who I was to be loved and accepted. That was my perception of her. When my cousins and other people spoke about her, they had many different stories and opinions of her that were interesting to hear, some wild and some more serious. I knew that we all had our experiences with her, and that's what created our perceptions. We all had different opinions about the same person. Were they factual? Perhaps, but I'm sure she was much more than what any of us perceived her to be. Our thoughts continuously create emotions. For example, if you think a person in your life, the thought of that person will create a feeling inside of you. You are the one experiencing that emotion. Try this. Think of a person in your life who gets on your nerves. Oh, yeah, that person. Got them in mind? The thought of that person probably comes with a few choice feelings: annoyance, frustration, resentment, straight up anger. If I were to ask someone else to think about that person, they may have a different emotion about them. If I were to ask you, how do you feel about that person? You are experiencing them based on your perceptions. You may create an opinion from your perception. Ask yourself, have I ever felt that way about myself? When you sit with that uncomfortable feeling, you may discover that it isn't about them. It's never about other people. We experience our emotions, and nobody knows how we feel but ourselves. This is the beginning of owning your shit. Let's expand our perceptions together. The way to start healing is to become aware of our perceptions, and we do this by using our senses to their full potential. Try doing this often throughout your day. Hyperfocus on a specific sense. Sound, for example. Stop reading for a minute and listen for a subtle sound around you. What do you hear? Now, hyperfocus and listen to the sounds further away. What do you hear now? Do you know what just happened? Your brain just stopped thinking of yesterday and tomorrow. You probably even for a second forgot that you were reading this book. You became extremely present in this moment. Let's do some more. Try becoming aware of the objects around you. Describe out loud or in your mind the colors and the textures. You may even try this when you're eating. Become aware of the smells and the tastes. Describe what you're experiencing. What do the textures feel like on your tongue? Is it sweet, sour, or bitter? I would suggest trying this multiple times a day. The more you program your brain to use your senses to their full potential, you are reprogramming your mind to live in the present moment. Your brain is processing everything that surrounds you and what's within you, unconsciously and subconsciously. When you start using your senses, you are not thinking about yesterday or what may happen tomorrow. You are fully living in the now. If you have feelings of stress, anxiety, depression, or hopelessness, you'll notice a shift within you. A trust in the process of life will develop, and you will understand that the purpose of life is to just simply experience. When do self projections start? From birth to about 7 years old, we absorb our surroundings like sponges, taking in everything around us and recording it. During this period, we are highly impressionable, and our emotions can change quickly. We are not yet capable of projecting our thoughts and beliefs onto others. Our brain waves during this time are in the theta, which is a lower vibrational frequency. When we imagine, meditate, or undergo hypnosis, we also enter a theta state, which is between wakefulness and sleep. In this state, we are fully present in the moment and not yet able to project our thoughts and beliefs onto others. Children are not the projector, they are the experience. As we get older, we become more aware and function regularly on beta brainwaves. Beta is alertness, thinking, processing, and analyzing information. We start creating opinions and judgments and beliefs after 7. This is the time when we start self projecting. When we hear something, we tend to internalize it and create beliefs based on the information we received. Some of these beliefs come from our own experiences, while others come from the perspectives of others. As we continue to absorb information, even after childhood, our beliefs are reinforced and start to shape our reality. In a sense, we are both recording and playing back the images of from our experiences and perceptions in our visible reality, and we become the projector. Notice a child's simplistic emotions. If they are sad, they cry. If they are angry, they yell. If they are happy, they smile. Excited, they laugh. Their perceptions can change from moment to moment because they are simply experiencing life as it is happening to them. They are using their senses and intuition to guide them through life. But here is the caveat: they are also using other people's feelings, their suggestions, their teachings, and even facial expressions to guide them. My mom used to talk to me about her interests in the simplicity of young children's emotions when she began studying early childhood development. When my daughter was little, I remember my mom recounting interesting facts she learned from school, and she would share them with me. One day, as my toddler gazed up at me after dropping food on the floor, my mother pointed out that my daughter might be looking for validation or seeking my response on how to react to this event. It made me realize how children often seek our approval and reassurance, wanting to feel secure and validated in their actions and experiences. As my daughter got older and started testing my boundaries, my mom mentioned that this is a great sign of a healthy human behavior because young children are realizing slowly that they are separate from their parents. After 18 months old, they start having a sense of self. So they will start to say no and somewhat act what some people call as defiant, when in fact they are simply starting to follow their own intuition and inner guidance. It can be easy to live consciously, holding back words and reactions amongst adults, in the workplace, and even amongst friends for a limited amount of time. But because children are naturally vulnerable, we can become vulnerable with them. We may be more comfortable with our emotions around our children. If we meet them with the unaware, unhealed, vulnerable parts, oftentimes we may find ourselves projecting our shit onto them. Our filters aren't on around our kids, so we won't pretend to feel good around them like we do with others. When we are tired, upset, or sick feeling, our self projections are in full force, and we unfortunately can end up self projecting all four categories onto them. Here's some examples of what that may sound like. Emotional self projection. You are so sensitive. I may feel like I'm too sensitive and dislike that part of myself. Presumption self projection. You should like spaghetti, it's delicious. I'm assuming that they like what I like. Knowledge self projection. You should know how to tie your shoes. I'm assuming they know something that I know. Absolve self projection. You are so violent, reversing actions. I'm actually violent towards them or others. This particular egoic pattern, the particular egoic patterns that you react to the most strongly in others and misperceive as their identity tend to be the same patterns that are also in you, but that you are unable or unwilling to detect within yourself. Eckhart Tolle. All right, that's us at 2 hours. We're at chapter 3. So we're going to end it off here for now. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for listening. Whenever you hear this, make sure you are subscribed. Hit that notification bell so you know when I'm going live or post videos. Hit that like button. Stay amazing, stay awesome, and have a good one.